Have you ever noticed that the pain itself isn't what breaks you? It's the way you talk to yourself after the pain, after the experience, because most of us aren't just wounded once. We are wounded and then we wound ourselves over and over again. And as this year comes to an end, many of us are quietly replaying old moments, old hurts, old regrets, without realizing we are carrying the same arrows into the next chapter. Welcome back to Our Radiant Mind. If you're new here, I'm Christabel, your guide on the journey to radiant mental and physical well-being. If this year stretched you, if it cracked something open in you, if you're looking back wondering why certain wounds still ache, you're exactly where you need to be. Today, we're talking about the inner critic, that voice that shows up after pain, and why it's often the reason healing feels harder than it needs to be. In Buddhist philosophy, this voice is known as the second arrow. And understanding it can completely change how you close this year and how you step into the next. This isn't about fixing yourself, it's about stopping the quiet ways you've been hurting yourself without even realizing it. There's a Buddhist teaching called the parable of the arrows. It says that when we are struck by the first arrow, we feel pain. That pain is unavoidable. For example, loss, heartbreak, disappointment, burnout, these are part of being human. But then, almost instinctively, we fire a second arrow by ourselves. The second arrow isn't the event itself, it's the meaning we assign to what happened. Let me bring this into real life. A relationship ends. That's the first arrow. And you believing that you'll never be chosen again, you'll never meet the right person, that's the second arrow. Another example, you burn out. That's the first arrow. But then you saying to yourself, I'm weak, I should be able to handle more, that's the second arrow. Maybe the year didn't go as planned, that's the first arrow. And then you telling yourself that it was your fault because you wasted time and now you're behind, that's the second arrow. Do you feel the difference? The pain hurts, of course, but the suffering deepens when we turn pain into a verdict about who we are. That verdict is the inner critic. As the year comes to a close, many of us start reviewing our lives like a report card. We look at what didn't work, what we didn't heal fast enough, what we're still carrying, and without realizing it, we let the inner critic narrate the story. We think healing means getting over the pain, moving on, being stronger, doing better next time. But the truth is, the wound stays open because we never stopped firing the second arrow. The inner critic tells us rest means laziness, sensitivity means weakness, struggle means failure. So instead of tending to the pain, we turn it into our identity. We don't say this was hard, we say I am the problem. That's how pain becomes suffering. I want to tell you about a client. Let's call her Emma. Emma came to me toward the end of last year, feeling frustrated with herself. She said, I know my breakup hurt, but it's been a year. I should be over it by now. The word should was her second arrow. She had done everything right, therapy, journaling, staying busy, but her inner voice kept whispering, you're still broken, you're too emotional, you are behind. During one section, I asked her something simple. Emma, who are you angry at right now? Your ex or yourself? She paused, then quietly said, myself for not healing faster. That was the moment everything shifted. Her heartbreak had passed, but her self-judgment hadn't. Once she learned to name those thoughts as second arrows, she stopped fighting her feelings and started softening toward them. She would say, "This sadness is the first arrow. It's allowed. I don't need to add another." And here's the powerful part. As the year ended, she didn't take the wound with her into the new year. She took the wisdom and left the self-blame behind. This is where this message matters most right now. As the year closes, many of us unknowingly pack our old wounds in our backpack into the nest. We carry stories like, "I can't trust anymore," "This year proved I'm not enough," "I'll always struggle with this." But listen closely. You are not required to carry the second arrow into the new year. Reflection doesn't need to become self-punishment. Growth doesn't require shame. Your nervous system already knows how to process pain through feeling, rest, tears, and connection. What keeps it stuck is the belief that pain means something about your worth. Pain says, "This hurts." The inner critic says, "You are the problem." Those are not the same. As this year comes to a close, let this be your turning point. Do not carry old wounds forward as proof of who you are. You don't need to bring the self-doubt, the shame, the harsh inner voice with you into the next chapter. You can say, "This hurts, and I don't need to harden because of it. This was painful, but it doesn't define my future." The inner critic learned its role when you were surviving, living in survival mode. But you're not just surviving anymore. You're thriving. You're choosing to live softly, honestly, and with compassion. And that begins by putting the second arrow down. And I want to offer you a different kind of closure. Not the pressure to be healed right away, not a new year, new you. Just this question. What second arrow are you ready to stop carrying forward? You don't have to erase the past. You don't have to rush your healing. You simply get to decide that you will no longer punish yourself for being human. Pain moves through. Shame keeps you stuck. Compassion sets us free. Before you go, I invite you to do one small thing for me. Write this sentence: "I am leaving the second arrow behind." Let that be your quiet ritual of release. And if this video touched something real for you, take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. It helps grow this beautiful community of women choosing healing, truth, and self-love. Until next time, stay radiant and take gentle care of your beautiful mind and body.